Will this be the year that Victor Wembanyama finally ascends to being the best player in the world? Welcome in or welcome back. The last content creator episode that we have, I had to save the best for last. Co-host of the best Spurs podcast on the block, over 250,000 views on YouTube, beating the drum for both Texas Tech and Spurs fandom, representing the Baseline Bums. Everyone welcome AJ. Really appreciate you hopping on.
Buddy, that's the best intro I've ever gotten. Like, that was way better than the priest at my wedding, dude. That was fantastic. Wow. I'm going to record that. I'm going to send it to my wife and be like, look how awesome I am. Thanks, man. I appreciate you, man. We're really happy to be on here. Like, we've done some podcasts together, and we've always had a really good time. And I'm just excited about this one just as much as the other ones.
Yeah, it was about time that I had brought you onto my channel. I'm only like 6 or 7 behind, and then we'll be even.
One of these days.
Of course, the Baseline Bums. It's really a shame that we couldn't get the whole bum squad here because I had some really nice things to say about them. But now all the flowers just have to go to you. We'll get to that toward the end of the episode here. James, Rob, just know that you're missing out on a bunch of compliments later.
And man, what's crazy is the best part about being a bum for me is that we have this group chat, as you probably can imagine, and we send each other stuff. And then every once in a while, James has like this random outburst of someone who just crossed him the wrong way, like a public figure. And you're going, James, like, calm down, take a breath. And he's like, no, this guy, blah, blah, blah. And like, sometimes he dunks on people, and I die laughing because you're not expecting it. Like, one time he dunked on Crumble Cookie, and you're going, what did they do to you?
I bet he tried that Khloe Kardashian or Kourtney Kardashian collab, and it just wasn't very good. He was just super cross about it.
Yeah, man. Those guys they're out doing their own thing. One's doing some family stuff. The other one's doing work stuff. So I work a 9 to 5 and I don't have any kids. Therefore, my Fridays are very free.
I guess because of those reasons, we can let that slide. But in lieu of having the other bums, which we'll have to get to at some other point, a future collab on my channel as well, I want to get to know AJ, the Spurs fan. So tell us how we got here. Obviously, you're a Texas boy.
Yep.
So I feel like it was pretty obvious how you sort of leaned into that, but you did have 2 other options at your disposal. So why the Spurs?
Well, I'm originally from San Antonio. So, I mean, my mom tells a story whenever she was pregnant with me. They had season tickets to the Spurs games, and something happened, a big play happened, and she was wearing like buttons, and I kicked, and one of the buttons flew out. So like, it started before I was even born. And my parents became season ticket holders. I think it was the year that they drafted David Robinson. So they had to wait 2 years before he even like showed up. And that's kind of how it all started. And I was going to Spurs games, doing the whole thing for a really long time. And then, just went to college, and now, we're just trying to make ends meet over here in DFW, which is a weird place to be, being a Spurs fan, but everyone's been pretty cool because no rivalry yet, but I might be going to the game October 22nd. So pretty stoked about that.
Yeah, that'll be a good one.
Going to be a good one.
I think it's especially interesting now that the Spurs obviously have their guy of the future in Victor Wembanyama. And what I have seen in the Summer League and the 1 or 2, can't remember which one, preseason game so far for the Mavericks, it looks like they have their guy of the future too.
Yeah.
So it's really, they obviously don't play the same position, so it's not necessarily a head-to-head.
Right.
But for them to be the spearheads of the teams, it's going to be really interesting to see the next 15 years of their careers.
As long as Cooper Flag gets rid of that goatee thing that he's doing, I don't know what all this is up here. I mean, I get it. I was in that phase too. You can find him on my Facebook page, but like, at least has to connect a little bit. It just looks, he's trying too hard, and it's fine, buddy. Like, you can go clean shaven, you look handsome, call it a day.
I know that whenever he finally dons that Kelly green, he'll just go clean shaven. Hopefully. It'll be perfectly fine.
Hopefully. I'm imagining he's going to get a lot of flack for that. I hope so. He's going to get it from me.
Yeah, he's gotten a lot of flack already. He did that like get to know me post, and his favorite player is Larry Bird, but he wasn't alive to see Larry play at all, and everyone was like, "Oh, you never got to see you play." Like,
and one of my favorite, and we can get back on Spurs stuff because I don't like talking about the Mavs too much, but one of my favorite things to do is hear like arguments between people going against like who's a better player, Luka or Larry Bird, and I'm like, guys, like, understand Larry Bird at the time was on such a high level. Like the best story that he ever had was he was saving his right hand for the Lakers and dropped 40 with his left. Like that's insane. Like that's an insane thing to like even say out loud. And he was just that guy. And if you like, Sean Elliott told a story one time where he shot a ball and it bounced from the rim to the backboard and then went in, and Larry Bird was running down the court saying like, that shot shouldn't have counted. It's like, like that's who we're dealing with.
Larry Legend is always going to have a fan in me. Speaking of the Spurs, obviously trying to pull the conversation back to where it is. There's this idea across the league for a couple different teams. For Indiana, it's just the Indiana way. You know, it's basketball in 49 other states, but it's religion in Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
There's heat culture. From your perspective, you being a native San Antonian,
yeah,
what is the Spurs way?
Man, the Spurs way is both on the floor and off the floor. Like that, the culture down in San Antonio is super unique. Like you're not going to find another community that loves their city so much. Like I live in Fort Worth and I go to San Antonio quite a bit. And I love the Riverwalk. I love being downtown. I love the Pearl. Everything about it is fantastic. And there's like this vibe in this community when you meet someone from San Antonio. And it's like a really fun thing to do. And especially when you're outside of San Antonio, everyone seems to know each other in San Antonio too. So that helps. The familia is what they call it, because everyone's like, hey, did you know a guy who graduated in X year? He went to Churchill, and they're like, oh yeah, that's so-and-so. My cousin went to the prom with him. And it's like, that's how small it is. And like, that's kind of San Antonio. So the Spurs way is just like kind of helping each other out, basically passing up a pass to get a better, passing up a shot to get a better shot, that kind of thing. So that's the Spurs way for me. And it helps because I was very lucky to grow up in a childhood where David Robinson was my idol, like just a stand-up guy who nose down, works hard. And whenever he achieved the mountaintop, he was like very, very grateful. And then he got to go out on top as well. And like, that's a huge thing for like that community. And I'm very lucky that you have someone like that compared to, some of the other guys out there. So I'm just very lucky that we have that role model, and that kind of put a big blanket over what we have today. It was a great foundation, and we've been building ever since. And now that we got Victor Wembanyama, it's a little different. It's a little different because he's put the camera on me. I'll answer the questions. I'll do this. I'll be on Futurama. So like that's a new thing for all of us right now, but we'll get used to it.
I think that there will be a lot of the Spurs way with Victor Wembanyama and the rest of the San Antonio roster this year. When we're looking at last season, you guys weren't as unfortunate as the Grizzlies, who had like the worst injury luck ever, but the timing of your injuries were very, very bad. Because of that, do you consider last season sort of lost at all?
Yeah, I mean, yes and no, right? Like, yes, it was definitely an underwhelming season, to say the least, especially with all the injuries we had. It started early with Coach Pop, and that kind of set the tone almost for the whole season. And with a team like we had, obviously we were led by Chris Paul, but we still had a brand new coach in Mitch Johnson. We're trying to figure out how to use this 7-5 guy, properly. And how do we incorporate the people that are getting contracts and our new guys and all this other stuff? So, it was fun to see Stephon Castle blossom in that development, just being thrown in the water and saying, go swim. And he flourished. It was fantastic to watch. But at the same time, we had to play Chris Paul a lot. And so now that we don't have that, really big veteran, I mean, we have Harrison Barnes, we have Cornette and Olynyk that we'll probably get to, but and guard wise, I think Keldon Johnson's our oldest guard and in his 7th year, and he looks ready to go this year. His preseason, he looks ready to go. So I'm excited to see what Keldon has this year. But what I've seen too in the first couple of preseason games, have you gotten a chance to watch any of our preseason?
Just the highlights.
Yeah, no. So one of the things that I absolutely love seeing is Julian Champagne's confidence right now. He is letting that ball fly, and it is flush. So I'm like, you look at last year going, man, that really sucked. But now we have a very confident Julian Champagne who could take that next step to become a 38, 40% 3-point shooter. And all of a sudden that changes the whole game, because then you can just throw him out there in a spot shot or something, have De'Aaron Fox and Steph Castle and Victor Wembanyama. They can trust that guy in the corner to make that shot. And that's huge for someone like Victor's size.
I saw it toward the end of last season too, probably like the last 15, 20 games of the season,
Mm-hmm.
when I don't want to call it garbage time, but you guys were out of the playoff
Yeah.
hunt. Victor was down. De'Aaron Fox was down. So you guys are kind of just having a bunch of cardio practices, for a lack of a better term.
It was really rough to watch, but great betting wise, because I knew we sucked really bad. So I was like, yeah.
I saw it in those last chunk of games that he started to be more confident and more consistent.
Mm-hmm.
And there were multiple times where I was watching those games going, damn, dude, did the Spurs get another Gary Neal? Is that what we're looking at here?
Yeah, he's going to get paid like all the other guys that left the Spurs and then just kind of fizzled out. So, he's going to be the next one. Hopefully he stays longer than that. But, that's been our trend. I'm not going to lie. Like, they leave the Spurs, that you never hear from them again. Poor guys. But at least they get paid fat contracts.
After Victor Wembanyama went down and then De'Aaron Fox went down, after you guys kind of shut down the season, were there things toward the last 30, 35 games of the year that you can look at and go, this is really good, and I hope that we can bring this into this season?
Absolutely. Like, just the maturity over the year. Obviously Chris Paul helped tremendously, and I appreciate him making a pit stop before he calls it a day. Shout out to him. And I think that really just helped our younger guys just develop more, maybe be able to see angles that they wouldn't have seen before, especially with a young coach like Mitch Johnson. There are times when I'm like, what are you doing? Like, what is this lineup? And, towards the end, he got better. And I think that's, for me, a good sign of him getting better. Obviously, he is now the guy. He's the guy. You're not the interim. That's gone. Like, you're the chosen one, is what I've been told. So now it's time to utilize what we have, because we know what we have. ESPN said top 5 player. Let's go out and use him the way we need to. But I have seen Victor right now look like he hasn't played basketball against anyone in a while. He looks like very baby deer, just kind of stumbling a little bit. He got blocked by Khalil Whale. Oh, by the way, let's go ahead and mark the Heat Spurs matchup, because there's a lot of nonsense going on the online verse right now about Ware being the Victor stopper or the kryptonite or whatever. So I will go ahead and let's circle that one for later, and let's get back to that, whenever the time comes, because I guarantee you Victor is going to probably have himself a little game.
I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of Khalil Ware.
I am too.
You can check all of my socials. I have been this whole time. Yeah. I think it is jumping the shark just a little bit to say that anybody can, but especially the second year guy could stop him. Small tangent. I have really liked the connection between him and Jonas just in the preseason game that I got to watch.
Right.
I think that connection would be really dangerous in Miami. Not this year, but in the future, I'm interested.
So what's weird is watching Jokic play. Is it Jokic? What is it?
Yeah, Jonas.
Yeah. So watching him play is so weird, because whenever he's shooting off the dribble, it looks fine. And then when he shoots his free throws, it's like, what is this shot? And then he has this weird haircut where it's like kind of a mullet, but not a mullet. And he's just a very interesting character. I'm curious to see how Miami and him coexist.
Speaking of some newcomers from the Miami Heat, and now back to the Spurs, you did have 2 draft picks this year. Mm-hmm. You could have had a third one in Cam Jones, but you traded that away to the Indiana Pacers. But I think without Cam Jones, you did pretty daggone good. At number 2, you picked up Dylan Harper, which was pretty easily the consensus number 2
He's playing in
this draft. And then at number 14, you picked up Carter Bryant. How do you feel like this now 3-headed monster at the guard spot between him, Castle, and Fox is going to gel? And before you answer, I think that I have seen this play before. It could be the best version of that like 2014, 2015 Spurs team with Goran Dragic and Eric Bledsoe and Isaiah Thomas. It could also be the worst version of that exact same trio. So what do you think is going to happen for this team this year? And if anything is going to hinder them, what is it?
I think what really hinders everyone is just playing with Wemby, because like he's it's like playing with LeBron, right? Like he's so good and so great that you have to get him involved, but sometimes that's not the best way to play basketball. And like that's what I feel whoever can gel with Wimby the most. And I mean, nowadays positions are positions, but if you want to run 4 guards out there and Victor Wembanyama, sure, why not? Who's stopping you? You know, just as long as you can play defense. So that's kind of how I look at that rotation. There's going to be give and take. So I would imagine when you put that Spurs jersey on, your ego goes to the side. That's kind of the understanding of the business of doing business with the Spurs. Is your ego goes to the side for the bigger part of the team, which is the end goal is to win the championship and build a new Spurs arena. But we'll get to that later. You know, I think it's possible, and I think you could. For me, looking at Keldon Johnson right now, the way he's playing, you couldn't have done that with Keldon Johnson 2 years ago. But 7th-year Keldon Johnson, I think this can work. And but also it's preseason, so we just got to get everyone back in rhythm. That first game is going to be rough to watch for everybody, but we'll get through it. We'll see what happens. So I think right now, once we just kind of get incorporated, we just got to gel and play other people, because you can tell that these guys just haven't had another body on them while they're playing basketball. So it's one thing to play against the guy you see every day. It's a different story when someone wants to go out there and beat you.
I think there's going to be some growing pains, especially in the early part of the season.
Yeah.
Because for whatever reason, a lot of people forget that Wemby and De'Aaron Fox played like 8 games together before everybody went out with injury. So they're still new. They still don't know how to play with each other yet. So I think the first 20 games is going to be a real feel it out process. And then you pick up speed after that.
Yeah. It's going to be, you know, it's going to have to be like, let's check the egos at the door. We have to come together kind of thing. And I think, you know, having the kind of like the passing of the torch from Greg Popovich to Mitch Johnson, I think that helps a lot. Especially to have that kind of ceremony, if you will, where he came out with all the Spurs and whatnot. So that kind of set the tone, I think. But I also have been hearing that these guys love Mitch Johnson because he just relates to them because he's a lot younger and he can understand and have those conversations. So I have high expectations for our coaching staff, and I have high expectations for this squad too. I mean, I think that we should be in the playoff mix, you know, play in probably, but I think we should be in that conversation. I think Victor should be looking to score 30 points a game. He averaged 24. That's 2 more threes, 3 more twos. That's very doable for what he can bring to the table. So, you know, I think that's going to have to be just our priority, is just Wemby needs to be fed and be fed often.
I think that ever since you got Wemby, the clear MO for the Spurs has been finding pieces to fit around him. And I forget which episode of the Baseline Bums podcast where I was a guest, I had said that I want like this Asar Thompson, Amen Thompson type of forward for you all to kind of fill out the rest of that roster.
Yeah.
And I don't think that he's going to be as good as them, but Carter Bryant is as close as you could possibly get.
Yeah.
I loved his tape in college. I am really impressed with what I've seen in the summer league and parts of what I've seen in the preseason so far. I think that he's poised to be one of the best wing defenders in the league in, say, 3 or 4 years.
Sure.
But what does he need to do to maximize his offense next to Wemby?
For me, it was fun for me because the first 2 games, you could tell he was like, I'm in the NBA. Like he had that look on his face, like, all right, here we go. And he just kind of got a little reckless and a little too excited. But what I saw is him attack the basket. And I think if he can figure out how to be that, you know, stretch 3 or stretch 4 where he can make that, like, honestly, if he can be like a Robert Horry type player where he can just be clutch and just consistent and do his job, and every once in a while drop a 25 piece because you need him to. Like if he can be that type of player and just all around like clutch Bryant, then I think that's where he needs to be. But also just his athleticism, like just be around the basket. He's 7'5", he'll find you. So, you know, just be ready essentially. But it's going to take time. You know, it's going to take time for him to get to speed and be comfortable. I don't know how much we're going to be playing him this year. Hopefully, you know, a little bit, but I don't see him getting a whole lot of minutes. You know, but he'll probably play some time in Austin, I would imagine. But I would love to see him come in and just be that guy. Honestly, he has a good shot.
Yeah, he does have a good shot. I think his off-ball movement is really good too, and that gravity that you're talking about that Victor brings in. When he gets the ball on the block, you're going to have the two defenders from the corners dig in a little bit, so it's going to be really easy to just get into that, you know, negative area, catch a little, you know, put a little floater up, take it all the way to the rim. So as long as everybody can like buy into that season, I think you guys are going to be perfectly fine.
Yeah.
You did have a couple of additions this year. Big fans over here
Ooh.
of who you got.
Ooh. Yes.
Luke Cornett, Celtics legend, and former Celtics legend, Kelly Olynyk.
Buddy. Austin, I'm not gonna lie. Whenever we got Luke Cornett, I was so excited because I was like, "That's perfect. That is perfect. He's kind of like obviously someone already has his nickname, but he's just the mailman. He needs to just every day, he's gonna come at 3:45, drop your mail off. He's gonna do his job. You're gonna give him a tip at the end of the year, and that's what he does. And he loves what he does, and he's gonna do it for 45 years and retire. Like that's Luke Cornett. And I absolutely love seeing the pick and roll that him and Wimby are running right now. Oh my goodness, it's incredible. And I know that French Vanilla is the nickname everyone's working with right now, but I got another one. The French Connection.
I like it.
Thank you.
That's good. We're going to trademark that, and then we're going to get royalties off of it.
And then Kelly Olynyk obviously just brings in veteran know-how. So if any of these guys go down, he can come in and just fill that spot. Him and Biyombo, I kind of feel in the same way, where if someone like happens to miss some time, they can fill in the spot. Are they going to be as good? Probably not, but they can at least do their job and, hopefully make some buckets when we need them to.
Well, I think what's important is that now you actually have center depth.
Right.
It's not just Wemby, and respectfully as possible, guys who should be like the 11th guy off the bench. Usually, like these are competent role players. So now that you have a good center rotation, I feel like, not only is it a huge upgrade, you don't have to rely on having Wemby play 38 minutes a game.
Right.
You can give him more of a breather. And if you guys are in this playoff contention like you want to be, save him for his first playoffs.
100%.
That's going to be ultra important.
Just watching him play basketball. It's just, I just smile every time. I'm so happy just watching Luke Cornett play basketball. And I get it, dude. I would be so mad if he came to another team. Like, we better hold on to this guy forever. He needs to be our next Matt Bonner. Like, just needs to just pay him whatever money he needs to be paid. Like, let's hook him up. So I absolutely, it's a joy watching him to play basketball. Just doing his job, knowing where to be. His spacing's amazing. He finds those spots where he needs to be. And when you have guys like Victor or whoever's going to be running point, I mean, De'Aaron Fox can find him on those pick and rolls easily. So I'm to the moon about Cornett, man. I'm so excited. I might get a jersey, to be honest with you.
I think he's a great media guy. You've already seen it, obviously.
Oh, absolutely.
He picked number 7. He picked number 7, and when they asked him why he picked number 7, he's like, "Well, I think I'm at least as a third as good as Tim Duncan was." So if that doesn't tell you what kind of player you have on your hands now, I don't know what will.
He just seems like a good guy to just have in the locker room too. Just a happy guy that he's going to crack jokes, is going to be funny. And, just going to, like I said, do his job, just the mailman, just going to deliver what you need him to do. If that's 8-8 or, 18 and 12, he can do either one. And when you have a guy like that next to Wemby, it just makes his job a lot easier. Because this is the Wemby team, right? Like if you can't play with Wemby, you're not going to be on the team anymore. So that's why we don't have a lot of people on the team.
Speaking of that center depth, you did have 2 re-signings. De'Aaron Fox re-signed on a 4-year deal. Not exactly surprised there. Bismack Biyombo also re-signed. I don't want to say I'm surprised, but because you already picked up Luke Cornett and Kelly Olynyk, I was a little surprised. How do you feel about both of them coming back? What were something that they had, or I mean, De'Aaron Fox is kind of a limited sample size, but what was something that you saw last year that you're glad to have this year as well?
Just, dude, people forget what De'Aaron Fox did in those 17 games. Like, just, it's insane what he can do. And if he can just get some reps with our guys, I mean, yeah. And also, like, I love the fact that we signed him. Like, that's a big Spurs move, because we're gonna have to make a lot of big Spurs moves that we haven't been known to do back in our day. So, like, that's kind of where I'm coming from, especially with someone like Wemby, who's going to be probably offered $90 million a year, maybe $100 million a year. Like, it's going to be something insane. And I'm just nervous because we've never been that franchise. So, like, with Tim Duncan, like, he was never the top paid player in the NBA. I think he was top 10 maybe 2 years, something like that. So, like, that's my only concern is just, can we keep all these guys together with the salary cap that we have? And obviously at the end of the day, we're going to have to, Wimby's going to be a max player. We just got to pay him whatever money we can have. And then we'll fill in, we'll be like the Miami Heat and just fill in players that want to win rings. So, but I love the fact that we re-signed Fox. I think it's great. And then Bismack, I think that was more just like a courtesy, like, hey, thanks so much for coming and helping us out last year. You did great. Here's a reward. Here's a 1-year contract. He hasn't looked great in preseason, but he's probably not getting a lot of reps anyway. So he's there just in case, someone goes down, and, he's just there to be probably a good glue guy too. So I like him. He's fine.
Are you worried at all that because De'Aaron Fox has inked in this deal and this will carry him into his 11th season into the league, that his presence will stunt the growth at all of a Steph Castle, of a Dylan Harper?
No, I don't think so. And the reason why I say I don't think so is because, like I said earlier, like, just you check your ego at the door when you come to the Spurs. And I think for him, it's more than just playing basketball at this point, because the reason why San Antonio was on his list, his wife's from San Antonio, they've got family here, things of that nature. And I feel that kind of in itself, he's looking to move into the next chapter of his career. And what a better chapter to be in than with the San Antonio Spurs team who's growing. And what a better story than someone who De'Aaron Fox is an automatic bucket who can do whatever he wants on the court, how he helps these guys. And you can see some of these guys take those games from De'Aaron Fox and use it for them, especially like a Dylan Harper. Like, if we can get Dylan Harper to be like De'Aaron Fox, we win. Like, that's a great person to learn from. So I don't think he's going to stunt the growth, but obviously at the same time, he's going to have to get his. So, and he will.
Well, speaking of that mentorship, we of course have to talk about a little bit of the bad in this offseason. Could be bad, could be not bad, depending on how you feel about it. 2 departures, Chris Paul and Sandro Mamushkashvili. Really wanted to hammer that one down.
Yeah.
I think that Chris Paul being there was obviously, like you alluded to earlier, more of this vet move. I think that he did help De'Aaron Fox and Steph Castle while he was there for the 82 games. But is there something about his game at all that you're going to miss having on this team? Or were you just kind of thankful that he was here?
I was happy he was here just so they could learn, like the young kids can learn from someone great. Obviously future Hall of Famer, amazing point guard, probably one of the best, if not the best. It's unfortunate he just never got over the hill. We had a lot to do with that. So sorry about that. But, for me, watching those games, he lost a step. Like, he lost a step on defense. He was getting burned a lot, especially with these young guys. And he can still hoop, but the role that he wanted on our team wasn't the role that was for the best for our team. And, him being in the starting lineup the whole time, I understand that. I think that might have been part of his contract, but it was just one of those things where you could tell that if we had a different situation, he wouldn't have been a starter. He would have been coming off the bench, just because that would have been a great move for us. But I think we did it as more of a courtesy. So seeing him go, it's fine. Go to the Clippers, go get a side deal if you want to. But when we lost Mamu, that one hurt. Because I'm like, we're never going to see Flavor Flav in the Spurs arena again. And that's really disappointing for me.
Are you disappointed enough to go pick up a Mamu Raptors jersey? Or is that where you draw the line?
He's been looking in preseason. I might. Especially an old school one, like the purple one. Oh, that would go hard.
I posted my Raptors preseason video probably a month ago at this point, but I was really high on Mamushkashvili in that video as well. I watched him for you guys, and it was hard just because of the sample size that he actually got to play. But you could tell the pieces were there, and he'll never be an all-star. He won't be an all-NBA type of guy, but he's going to be a hell of a role player for that Raptors team.
Well, look what he did with Georgia. He literally just put him on his back and carry them in Eurobasket. So you see what he can do. You just got to use him, and he can get those reps in Toronto. I'm sure he's going to love that city just as much as he loves San Antonio. But it wouldn't surprise me if the Spurs put together a video package when they come to San Antonio for Mamu, just because he's so adored in San Antonio, just absolutely adored. and him and Victor were good friends. So that one stung. That one stung. I was very sad whenever I saw him leave, but I'm glad he got paid because we couldn't do it. But I'm glad he got paid though.
That seems like a very Spurs thing to do, to give him a video package. That I would love to see that personally.
What's that stat that he has? Like he's like the highest person, or the person who got the 30 points with like the least shots or something like that, and he beat everybody. Like just a random game in April. And Flavor Flav was in the arena, and so he just went off for Flavor Flav, and after the game they're hugging. It's like, where did this come from?
You see most NBA players want to ball out in front of Rihanna or, whoever the celebrity is. Not Mamu.
No.
Give me Flavor Flav.
Yeah, he's like, fight the power.
Now that we've kind of talked about all of the additions and the departures for your team, you've kind of alluded to it earlier in the episode. What are your realistic expectations for the Spurs this year?
Around the 45 win mark would be, I think that's achievable. I think we can get a lot of teams that are older on, like, let's say maybe a back-to-back or something to that effect. I think we can run with some young teams if we need to. I do think the West is absolutely stacked, but we're going to be beating each other up all year. Spurs are a perfect team to come in and get those wins like the Rockets did last year. So, that's how I kind of look at this team is, it actually wouldn't surprise me if we end up in, the top 4 just because we end up winning these games. I'm not saying we will, but it wouldn't surprise me because that's how the NBA is nowadays. If you can have all your players play 82 games, you have a good shot of being at the top. So, that's kind of how I look at this. I would say some of these other teams, like the Nuggets, the Mavericks, even the Rockets, Golden State, they're more of like the old Lakers teams where they would just need to get to the playoffs and then they'll figure it out in the playoffs. And when you have that kind of mentality, you can take those nights off that you're not really expecting to. And I think that those are the nights that the Spurs need to capitalize on. So, but my expectations are probably like 43 to 45 games. That'd be great. Anything more would be awesome. Anything less, under 40 would be a very big disappointment because that means we're not making the playoffs. And that means we have big problems. We have big problems.
I don't think it's going to be this year because of, like you talked about, the West is just a gauntlet this year. I mean, it could be one of those years where the top 8 win 50 games each and someone's going to have to take a back seat. I don't think it's going to be this year that the Spurs make the leap. So what does a successful season look like to you? What's the bare minimum that needs to happen for you to be like, yeah, this was a pretty good season?
We have to make the play-in. We have to make the play-in. That's you. If so, here's the thing, and I'm going to give you a peek behind the door of what's going on in San Antonio too. Like right now, there's a huge city debate of building a Spurs arena downtown. It's a huge project. We're talking, billions of dollars. The Spurs are going to put up, I think, like $2 billion. The city and county are going to put up like $1 billion. Like it's a lot of voting and a lot of politics, and in all of that, all the people that are opposed are just like, well, you haven't won a championship in 10 years, and it's like, you should be so lucky. Like you should be so lucky to say that. Like it's just wild to me that just people just say that, and you're like, you have any idea how the league works? Like, good Lord. So that's frustrating, but it helps those conversations when the team's winning. So when your team's winning, everyone's doing good, everyone's excited for the team, those conversations get a little easier because everyone's a little bit more happier. Your team's having a run. So, for me personally, I think it's a great deal for the city. It's one of those things where like the tourist tax will take care of the funding, and the Spurs already came out and said, we'll cover the overages, and whatever happens, tariff wise, we'll cover it. So like that whole thing is just great for the community. It's going to give a lot of jobs. Personally, those people that work downtown, for them to get a weekend, paycheck on a Tuesday because the Lakers were in town, I think that's enormous for the city. So my biggest pet peeve being a Spurs fan is it's 10 minutes away from downtown. So if you want to go to the Spurs game, you either need to go downtown before, or if you're going off of work, then you got to go straight there because there's so much traffic because we're driving through neighborhoods. Whenever you go there, you're like, oh, let's go downtown afterwards. Then you get done, you get stuck in traffic again. You're like, you know what? I don't want to go downtown. And that's money going out of the city. So let's bring money into the city and have it downtown and make everything walkable, and you call it a day. So that's the proposal. And so success for me would be playing game. Let's start building that arena, and everything's going up from here. So we'll take our chances in the plan. You never know. Wemby could have 60 points.
You can correct me if I'm wrong. This is something that I've noticed as an outsider, someone who's not a Texas native or San Antonio native. It seems like the people of San Antonio and that area are apathetic toward success. And this is obviously a different scale than what the Spurs are. But there's a reason that the San Antonio Stars, the WNBA team, isn't there anymore. They were successful. That think about the Becky Hammon teams that she led. They were very successful, but the area didn't care enough about that success, so they moved on to Las Vegas, and now they're getting. I'm box score watching right now. They're up 20 points.
Yeah, dude, Asia Wilson's the best basketball player I've ever seen. She's insane. Like if Wemby can do that, like. Wemby, go beat Asia Wilson. Like that's essentially who you need to be.
And this could have been just the WNBA's version of Tim Duncan having 4 championships in San Antonio. And that even on a smaller scale than that, there was an arena football team that was really successful in San Antonio. And of course, the Arena League folded at some point, but they didn't care and they had to relocate too. So it's interesting that you say that we haven't won a championship in 10 years. You have 5.
I know.
There's 8 franchises that don't have any. What do you mean?
Exactly. You could be so lucky. It's wild to me to hear people like say those things. I'm like, good Lord. Like what was the stat until like 2018? Only 7 teams won the NBA championships from like 1980 to like 2018 or so, something like that. Like that's what the league was. And people just forget because now we have all these different champions. So, it's just sometimes you get too spoiled.
I think something that may have hurt you all in that vector is that they never went back to back or they never three-peated.
Yeah.
And I think that's dumb. I think that's a dumb way to look at it because you still won 3 in 6 years. Like that's a pretty good run as well.
I mean,
but you can't like tag onto it. You can't back to back champ. Like it's a merchandise opportunity. You can't do that.
Well, we almost did back to back. We lost the first one in game 7. But we won the next one. I mean, like dude, that was such a heartbreaker. I felt so bad. Just real quick, whenever we lost that championship, what was that, 2013? I was watching it at a bar, and I met one of my friends' parents that night, and I was like, "Oh, hey, my name's Adrian. How you doing?" And then that game was so stressful, and the worst side of me came out. And whenever Ray Allen hit that shot, I already checked out. And as soon as he hit that shot, I like slammed my hand, like closed, like I like pushed the chair in and I just walked out. I was so mad. And I felt so bad because I was like, oh no, these poor people think I'm just the worst human being. And I take sports way too seriously. And ever since that moment, like I texted my friend, I'm like, hey, I'm so sorry. She's like, no, it's fine. We're Aggies fans. We're used to disappointment. And I was like, all right, fair enough. And so ever since then, I'm like, all right, like sports is sports. I can't control it. Does it bring me joy? Absolutely. Does it bring me anger? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, like I'm going to take a deep breath, have a glass of wine. We're going to move on.
I think it's really the only way that you can be as a fan. I know some people that are apathetic fans. If their team wins, their team loses,
yeah.
Don't be like that. Care a little bit, you know.
Well, I'm not over Derek Fisher. I can guarantee you that right now. I am not over Derek Fisher. That shit, I don't care what
he's still dead to me.
I'm still convinced, dude. So that was what 2003, I want to say. So that was like before what we have nowadays was like internet wise. And I remember going into the band hall and like my band director was like, "Edge, you got to come here." And he was like pulling up like something like that shot by shot, like the ball still in his hand and it's like the buzzer going off. And he's like, look, they need to overturn this. I'm like, they're not going to overturn it, dude, but like, I get it. So it was one of those, like, I'm never going to get over that one.
Yeah. I don't blame you. That's one of the worst ways to lose a game. And it would have been one thing if it was Shaq that not shooting a 3, that would be arguably worse. But if Shaq hit the game winner, if Kobe hit the game winner, live with it. Derek Fisher,
right,
like,
right, and especially like, and I mean, Shaq. As much as I hated Shaq during that time, the best quote that I've ever heard was "One good shot deserves another," and I was like, "Damn, yeah, he's right." So I was like, "Man," but the one that Timmy hit on Shaq, we wouldn't be talking about Derek Fisher if that would have gone to him, because then that would have been a completely different series. We might have gotten a back to back that year too. So we can all live in, I guess, wonderment. Maybe in another dimension, the Spurs ran off 10. Been watching a lot of Peacemaker.
Really appreciate you hopping on. I want to transition to what I've been calling a content corner. This is where all the flowery language is coming from me and Rob and James. You missed out. AJ's going to get all the flowers here. Before we start, I really wanted to extend my gratitude to not just you, but the entire Baseline Bums. I think it's one thing to have mutuals online in this content creation space. I think it's another thing to, like each other's stuff and comment and build up some sort of kinsmanship. There's something so special about getting stamped by someone else. Like I said, we've been mutuals for a while, but when I got the invite from you all to come on, that was like giving me legitimacy. Like, oh, I've always thought that I was good, but someone else sees it too, and that's really important. So I will eternally be grateful for the Baseline Bums. I'll always say yes unless I am absolutely encumbered in some other way.
You did say no one time.
I did say no. It was date night. I had to say no. Like, if it's not date night, I'm there. So
I totally get it. But no, honestly, like Rob and I got whenever we got done, we were like texting each other, and I was like, that was probably one of our best episodes. So like, because it was just a really great conversation. And then like whenever I found out you were also a wrestling fan, I'm like, oh, thank God, because now I can just say things and he's gonna get it. Because I was saying things and Rob was like, what? I'm like,
what?
Yeah, what? So, and then having James too, like it's fun to have conversations with people who just have that depth of knowledge that I'm like, all right, I can have this great conversation because we also have explored the same space together. And so like basketball and wrestling, like I don't know what the combination is, but for whatever reason, there's a lot of mutual like content there. Maybe it's the pageantry. Maybe that's what it is. At the end of the day, instead of winning a belt, you win a pretty gold trophy. So like that's kind of cool. Like I said, we were talking after the podcast with you, and we were just like, yeah, we're gonna have him on a lot more, and we have, and we're gonna be doing those WWE Big Fours. We'll see. We might. I'm not gonna do Raw or SmackDown every night. Oh, didn't you go to AEW?
Yeah. I just went last Title Tuesday. It's pretty fun. I did have to dip out early. I'm not from there. I'm like an hour and 15 away from Jacksonville, and I was seeing locals leave to beat traffic. I'm like, oh yeah, dude, I gotta go. But I got to see everybody I wanted to see wrestle, and a good time was had by all.
It was in Dallas. Raw was in Dallas this past week or past Monday, and I looked at tickets and I went, no, sirree, Bob. Those tickets are insane. These Saudis are trying to get their money back immediately. It's wild.
Not that there aren't things to criticize AEW about, because there definitely are. The one thing they've been ultra consistent about is making it family pricing. I bought 2 tickets. I ended up going by myself because my girlfriend wasn't feeling well. Those 2 tickets plus the fees from Ticketmaster or whatever, like $100. Can't beat that. And I was like 20 feet away from the ring. I got to see everything.
Oh, yeah. No, that's awesome. So let me ask you, whenever you go to these wrestling events, when you're driving in your car, are you just jamming out to like theme songs?
The whole way there. Yeah.
when I Judas left, again.
When I left Daly's place, it was almost 11. So that put me at like midnight 30 getting home. And I really had to lock in to, not getting some sort of accident. But yeah, the whole way there while it's daytime, I just threw on. WWE had this album for like the 25-year anniversary of Raw. It was like the greatest hits for their theme songs. It's like, and their deluxe album's like 50 songs long. I just ran that the whole way there.
I do the same thing, but I start with Glorious, and I typically end with Glorious because that song's awesome.
It's just a nice full circle moment too.
Oh yeah.
Also, before we transition to the content corner, I wanted to appreciate you and again the other bums for the human aspect of it as well. Like I said, we've been mutuals for a long time. I'd like to think that we're friends, unless I've misread this entire thing.
No, absolutely.
So, you guys were also some of the first people to reach out after I had made it public that my dad had passed away, which really meant a lot to me, especially in today's day and age. A lot can be said. It's like, oh, well, they're just internet friends. And I just don't really believe in that. If someone could go out of their way, even that, we've only met each other through this medium, and still go, damn, dude, I'm so sorry. Like that means a lot. And I, again, super eternally grateful for the bums.
Of course, man. Well, we've had our share of losses on this end too, and it's always tough. So we definitely, we try to band together, especially in this day and age. There's a lot of mental health stuff, and you never know. Sometimes you just need an olive branch just to reach out, and all of a sudden that just makes someone's day, and you can get to tomorrow.
Don't want to be too gloomy here before I start,
No,
making thumbnail faces. So, so, so transitioning into the content corner, what's your why? Obviously, you joined this podcast with Rob and AJ. You guys are, buddies. What was it about the podcast medium that made you say yes, that you were interested? And the Spurs part is obvious, but how did you settle on, I want to do a Spurs podcast with my friends?
Well, here's how it happened. So just to kind of give you some background, Rob James and I have been friends for 2 decades, like 20 years or something like that. Like some crazy amount. I have no idea at this point. I've known them my entire life. And so like we've all been like really close. We also went to Texas Tech together. So like we've been through it together, and the college through it. Like you just held each other's hair when you threw up, that kind of stuff. But like, that's kind of what we're talking about. But we're a tight knit group, and a lot of the conversations we were having over the phone were basically just our podcast. Because then you look down, you're like, oh shit, we've been talking for 40 minutes, and it's like we haven't changed the topic of the Spurs once or NBA once. And so it was one of those things. And then James got married a few years ago in 22, I believe. Rob and I were groomsmen, and he came up to me during the reception, and he was like, we should do a podcast. And I was like, yeah, we should do a podcast. Whatever. And then like 2 weeks later, he's like, hey, do you want to come down and do that podcast? I was like, oh shit, he was serious. Okay. Yeah, man, I can do it. And I'm 3 hours away to Austin. So it's not a terrible drive back and forth. But what happened was I was doing it like every other weekend, and we're doing 3 episodes at a time. And it was like an absolute grind. Our microphone sucked. It was, we were trying. We were doing crazy topics. We were definitely rage baiting everybody. I was like, LeBron James is number 7 in my top 10. And people were like, what the fuck? And it's like, it was outrageous, man. And I mean, it was a good time though. We loved it. We shot it in Rob's apartment and had a great time doing it. But, just like I said, these conversations, we would always have them just talking over the phone or just hanging out with each other in a drunken reception conversation. It turned into what we have today. And it's been great. It's been a lot of fun. We have Adam as well. Adam's been a great asset as well. He's so much fun to talk to. Whenever he gets into his little moments, they're hilarious because, half the things he says we can't even hear. I'm like, man, Adam, Jesus, man. Cut
the mics, cut the mics.
cut. Dang it. But with James too, and James has one of those minds where you would walk into a room and you'd be like, hey, what's so-and-so's batting average? He's like, oh, that's I think they're averaging like 298. Like he was just like this. He was always the smart guy. And him talking sports, like there's a different level whenever you're hearing him talk. So James brings a lot of it. And then Rob's background in cinematography is why we shoot so well. So we've done some really cool shoots. We had Mike Taylor on our podcast one time, who's a local San Antonio legend. He has his own podcast in the building. Got to shout them out. We're actually partners on their channel. Love You Heart TV. Check it out. So we have a nice little community here. And, with the addition of Mike Taylor and our partnership, like we have a good thing going. It sucked last year because we had a lot of momentum, and then Wemby got hurt. Everyone kind of stopped caring about the Spurs. But now this year, if we make some noise, you're going to be hearing a lot from us. A lot. I have a lot of bookmarks.
Oh, I'm waiting for it. You say something. Ooh, I'm right there.
Just wait until the last week of the season with West Virginia and Tech Twitterverse. Dude, Texas Tech Twitterverse it's another level. Like, I don't think people understand like the Twitterverse of Texas Tech. It's insane.
Listen, you're not going to hear a peep out of me about the WVU situation. I made a video a month after Rich Rod got rehired. Sorry, football talk tangent here at the end. I made a video about Rich Rod being rehired, and I titled something like "The Commitment to Mediocrity in West Virginia" or something like that. And it's just because I watched him at WVU. He was blessed with Pat White and Steve Slayton and like a ton of talent. He went to Michigan, got ran out of town. He went to Arizona and got ran out of town. And he did well at Jackson State, but that's a group of five. That's a group of five school.
Right. Right.
You can't have those kind of tactics, those kind of players in a Power Five school. It just doesn't work. And I got ran. It's my most popular video because of all the hate watches that it got. I think the actual YouTube title is like WVU is in need for some serious change, and the commitment to mediocrity is the thumbnail. Every single loss, I have posted that thumbnail, or I've posted that screenshot, because I have never been proven wrong. Yeah, we beat Pitt, big deal. They're supposed to be in a group of five school too, and we beat that blind Catholic girls school or whatever. We were supposed to beat them as well. We are getting ran out of the Big 12. Like
Yeah, dude, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I went to the Houston Texas Tech game last week, and one thing that stuck out is I was there in 2008 when we were super dominant, and this has 2008 written all over it for Texas Tech, and we took over Houston. I know it was a home game for Houston, but the only people that were really there were the students. I saw a lot of red, a lot of Texas Tech red too, and it's wild to see our defense win games, especially being from my generation of not defense winning games. Like, we had some bad defense as past Pat Mahomes. So like seeing what we have now and kind of the NIL, but it's more than that. Like, I know everyone's like, Texas Tech has a big, pocketbook, blah, blah, blah. But honestly, if you watch Joey McGuire, you hear him talk, you see the facilities that we have, and you see the guys that we're bringing in, it's culture. It's literally culture. You can see it like on your screen, the way that some of these guys are. Like, after the first game, one of our transfers was like, I don't want to take my jersey off because I'm so proud to be Texas Tech. So I don't want to turn this into a Texas Tech podcast, but we can.
Before we get to undeniably my favorite part of these entire content creator videos, one last question for you. And you can speak on behalf of all the bums since they decided to abandon us today. What are your all's content creation goals for the upcoming season?
I want to record recaps this year for the Spurs. So that requires a lot of me sitting down and watching these games, which is, great for me too. But I would love for us to be in those conversations. I've been trying to talk to a couple of people that have some big names out there. So I'm hoping to get one of them on the podcast here pretty soon. I also would love to interview a Spurs Jackal. Are you familiar with this group?
Oh yeah.
The Spurs supporter group, the Jackals. I want to interview one of them because I'm curious to know, like, what their conversations are like during those games and kind of how they got there. The best thing is, I was nervous at first. I was very nervous because I saw the tryouts and I was like, ugh. But it was bad, dude. I don't know if you saw those things. It was bad. But, hey, they hired the people that they hired. Now, I didn't know this, but they got, like, I guess, captains to meet with Victor Wembanyama, and they're writing songs and chants. And you can actually, there's a Google Doc where you can like go in and like type in your own, or if you want to like, contribute or whatever, you can actually like reach out to them. It's really cool. So I'm excited. I'm hoping I can come up with one. I have one kind of in my head, but I got to finish it out. I just got the first part, and it's the song by Juanes, La Camisa Negra. You know that song? Great song.
Familiar, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm thinking Victor Wembanyama, Victor Wembanyama. So I'm trying to figure out the rest of the lyrics, but I think it would go hard in San Antonio.
And small tangent before we transition to this last part. Victor Wembanyama's idea about adding this European flair to the NBA, especially when it comes to the crowd interaction, was obviously a good idea. Mm-hmm. I don't know how often you get to watch EuroLeague games. You said that you were tapped into the Eurobasket here. The crowd interactions dwarf the NBA's by a billion. It's not even close. So the fact
there's
that
no
Vic's
DJs
like,
over there.
we need to bring that here. Like,
there's no DJs. Like the reason why they're so quiet is because there's the DJ doing something every possession. They don't have that over there. So you got to make your own noise. I'm sure you watch it as well, but was it the African Basketball League that they show on NBA TV sometimes? Like, there's people playing the entire time. Like, they're playing drums and shaking, like, and chanting the entire time. Like, even during timeouts, they don't stop. It's insane. So I'm hoping like this starts to kind of become more of a thing, because all it takes is a little fire to take over. And I think it would be really cool, because I said this on our podcast. I think it's a sin that the Manu, like doing the Olay chant, but with Manu, it's a sin that it never caught on. Like I am so mad. Like I tried it because I was, you know, it was whenever I was a teenager, and like it just never, no one gave a shit. So like I think that was a huge missed opportunity. Imagine going to a Spurs game or being a visitor and hearing like random Spurs people sing that. Like big missed opportunity. So now I'm glad that we have somebody like Victor. Like I said, it's a little weird because he's like very open, but I like it.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a great idea. My favorite part of these videos, and you have told me that you're very excited about this too. Hopefully, I've lived up to all this hype.
Oh,
The lightning
I
round, the
cannot
rapid
wait
fire.
for these. I'm so excited. I've been watching them, and it's a must watch every time I see them on TikTok or Instagram. I'm like, yes, what are these 5 questions? And I've seen some, and I'm like, I don't know if my brain can fire that fast, but I'll do my best.
So, of course, when you watch that, you get the curated version. As respectfully as possible to every guest that I've had, I've loved all these conversations. No one has been very lightning-y or very rapid. So if you're not, it's not the end of the world.
No, this says rapid fire questions. You get rapid fire answers. I have an answer, but you go first.
5 questions. You don't have to elaborate if you don't want to, but 5 questions. Are you ready?
I got this.
There's a huge culture in San Antonio surrounded by food and food trucks. So what is your go-to San Antonio food truck order?
Al pastor tacos with lime. Keep it
Yes,
simple.
dude.
Keep it simple.
Yep.
Oh, and a Pepsi, not Coke. I get Pepsi because that's how I was raised. I want Pepsi.
What will Victor Wembanyama be remembered as at the end of his career?
Greatest Spur.
Will San Antonio ever get a real apology from Charles Barkley?
No. Never. Has he apologized to anybody? No. No. He said that one thing where he was like, apologize and for, you know, whatever he said, like he's never going to do it. And I don't want him to, honestly. I love the banter. I think it's fun. I think it's silly. I think it just doesn't depict San Antonio. San Antonio has some gorgeous women. So I would say that's a stretch, but I'm not going to lie. He's not wrong. Just being honest. I've seen it.
I'm going to really put you on the spot for number 4 here. You have to pick one: a Texas Tech national championship in football or another Spurs championship.
Tech football championship. I haven't experienced that one
than
yet.
what I thought it was.
I haven't experienced that one yet. I've experienced the other ones. I remember where I was at. I know what I was doing. I was at the 03 championship. So like, I got it. We're good. But I've never experienced Texas Tech being this good at football before. And if we can make a run and we end up in the national championship, like you're not gonna hear the end of it, for one. Like you can forget about it. Like I'm gonna be all over. I might tattoo it on my face. That's how serious I am. But I will say that one would be, because it's also like I guess it's one of those things where like I'm still paying my student loans, so I feel like I've contributed to this team, and I feel like I deserve like maybe a ring on the back end.
Well, the way that these predatory student loans are going, you should be really considered a student for the next 50 years or so. So you can celebrate all of these championships.
And I still have 4 years of eligibility. I never used them.
If coach ever wants to give me a ring, I'll suit up right now.
Yeah, just because I'm 5'4" doesn't mean I don't have heart.
And last one before we get you out of here. Should we really remember the Alamo?
Yes. 100%.
All right, fair enough.
And the reason why is because they're doing a lot of renovations around the area right now. So whenever they get done, it's a great time to go to San Antonio for your visitor dreams. It's fantastic. It's a great time. Honestly, San Antonio's one of those places because whenever we did Man on the Street during the Final Four, it was really cool to meet people from like outside of the city who'd never been to San Antonio. And they're like, oh my God, we had no idea how gorgeous this was or how nice it was. It was also a beautiful weekend too. I think it was like 86 degrees, something like that. Sunshine, perfect. And, you know, people were having a good time. There's something to do. So that helps the situation a lot. But, you know, at the same time, a lot of people we were talking to, they're like, no, I want to come back here when it's not crowded. I want to see what it's like, because it seems like it's a really cool culture. And honestly, man, whenever you want to go to San Antonio, let me know. I have a great hookup. They're called Parents. And also my wife works in hotels, so we can also get a hotel too. It's not a big deal. It's just one of those places where you can have a great time anywhere. Downtown's great, but up in your little pockets, those areas are great too. There's a cool vibe about San Antonio. Going out, you hear all kinds of different music. They like to stay up until like 2007, 2008 rap. So you're not going to hear like many Drake songs, which is fantastic for me. I'm like, give me more yin yang. Thank you very much. So, anyway, but yeah, so we should remember the Alamo, but let's forget the Alamo Dome and build something better, because the NCAA told
full
San
circle
Antonio,
back to Project Marvel.
yeah, the NCAA told San Antonio, like, look, we're not coming back and doing any of these Final Fours or whatever until you guys upgrade this stuff. And like, that's another big reason why we should do it, because they're huge generators. That weekend of Final Four generated $400 million for the city. So like that's pretty good. We should capitalize more on that.
I've said it a couple times throughout this episode. Really appreciate you coming on. We'll have to get all of the bums on another collab here. In the description, going to be all of your socials here, obviously Twitter and Instagram, YouTube, obviously. Is there anything else that you guys want to plug for, of course, the Apple Podcast for the Baseline Bubs? Is there anything else you want to plug before we get out of here?
No, honestly, be a Spurs fan. Jump on early, because we're not going to have very much room on our bandwagon when this happens.
I haven't done this for any of the other guests, but I feel like it's pretty apropos. I'm going to steal something from the Baseline Bums podcast, the way they end it, and I'll add my ending here. We have to end this with a
go Spurs, go!
Be kind, tell somebody you love them, and we'll see you in the next one.
Barely scraping by, trying to stop puffing. I'm trying to be one of the greats.